Okay, we are live right now. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, we are live now, and let me just
turn that down.
Open this on my phone here. We've got another Saboteur part coming out after the stream today, also, everyone. And then I got a GTA video coming out for you guys tomorrow, another one.
Ooh.
Okay. Okay. Hello, Horseman. I'm doing good. How are you, man? Okay. I hope everyone's having a good Friday. I would like to see the snow more in the world of Red Dead Online, because an area like this is like, you know, this is the upper Midwest where Valentine takes place. In an area like this, you would definitely see snow in the wintertime, 100%. Okay, let's see here. Start up. Maybe I'll go to my camp here first. Why are you playing? They're not updating it anymore. I know that. But I'm still playing because I promised my audience I would still play it. I kept my promise to my audience. I told them that I would play Red Dead Online even after I would still stream it. So people were worried that after Red Dead Online got canceled, I wasn't gonna stream, you know, that I wasn't gonna stream Red Dead Online. But I kept my promise. And one of the reasons I like playing Red Dead Online is the world is just beautiful. I just like looking at the world, and especially with the snow. And Red Dead Online is like a chill game that you can play with friends. Like, I admit it's a very boring game if you play it by yourself, but if you play with your friends, you just chill. It's like a game, you know, we can hang out, we can chill, we can talk and stuff like that. It's not really, nothing's really stressful. You know, it's not like Call of Duty where you're, you know, worrying about some sweats you're fighting. So it's, you know, that's what I'll say about Red Dead Online. And a lot of people come to my Red Dead Online streams not even necessarily to watch me play the game, but just to listen to me, and because I typically answer every question that people post.
Supplies are good.
So it's,
I'm a happy man.
Here.
Beautiful.
Start resupply. Okay.
I heard a few folks around here.
What's your opinion on the Andrew Tate arrest? Yeah, that guy was just, you know, I never liked that guy. That guy's just a creep. And, you know, the things that he said about women. And then it was just also, like, you know, how he praised Putin. So it's just, you know, I've never liked that guy, and I'm not surprised by what has happened. So it's just... Hey, Pro, sorry I can't get into your streams today. I'm sick right now. Will you do a playthrough of Fallen Order before Jedi Survivor? Yeah, I might do Fallen Order before Jedi. Well, I already did a playthrough of Fallen Order. I did that some time ago. Let's see here. Hey, Pro, you ever play Witcher 3? No, but I know the game. Hey, Pro, do you need help? Plus, I'm happy to support you for 8 months. Plus, you're the realest channel out there. You need help with Red Dead Online. Also, trying to do GTA 4 if 100%. Yeah, and, cause early January, you know, I'll be going back home. And, like, within the first 2 weeks, I'll be going back to the Midwest. And then when I'm back home, I'll do a 100% stream eventually of GTA 4. And there's, like, a lot of, like, GTA 4, like, lore videos that I want to make, you know, talking about a lot of things, too. Have I ever played Kingdom Come Deliverance? Oh, I know that game. I actually have it. I never got the chance to play it. And thank you, Boostio and, George, for sponsoring my channel again. Thanks, man. How's my week been? My week's been good. I'm fine. I've had a lot of work recently because of the GTA update.
Thank you. Don't reckon I would have made it otherwise. I don't have money to give you in return.
Let me ask. God.
Hey, Pro, do you think Guarma from Red Dead Redemption 2 is the same Guarma from GTA 5 Online? When is Guarma in GTA 5 Online mentioned? Thank you, Artificial Gamer. Does it mention in GTA 5? Thank you, Artificial Gamer, for the super chat. When was it mentioned in GTA 5? Oh, I didn't try out the electric bike on GTA yet. The Getaway series, yes, I could play that one day. I played one of the Getaway games. I have one of the Getaway games on PS2. I played it when I was a kid. I played one of the later Getaway games. I played, like, it was like... The game I played, it was like you played as, like, a cop. Like, kind of like a tactical SWAT cop. And then you played as this guy in, like, a bar. And then there was, like, a gym. And then people at the gym got shot or something like that. And that was, don't remember which one that one was, but... Mr. Rubio's Island? No, that's Cayo Perico. That's not Guarma. Guarma in Red Dead Redemption 2 is off the coast of Cuba. Cayo Perico is off the coast of Colombia. It's very far from each other.
Difference.
Okay, let's see here. Hey, Pro, it's YKRC. Can I get an invite, please? If you're appearing online, I can send you an invite. Let me check.
Nice
Thank you,
work.
thank you, Lo, for the super chat, and thank you, George. Do you need help on Red Dead Online by any chance? Not really, George. I'm just, we're just chilling, just playing, doing whatever. Thank you, Artificial Gamer. Let me see if he's on here. Let's see. Oh, there you are. Okay. Invite to session. Okay. Your top 5 video is good. Keep up the content. Will you stream tomorrow? Tomorrow I'm doing, exclusive stream for channel members and Patreon supporters, and then on Sunday I will be doing a, my GTA stream on New Year's Day. But I'll have a GTA video for tomorrow, so I'll have a video for tomorrow. You can get 5 million from the hangar. Well, you can get around $4 million normal if you sell in the populated lobby. I'm gonna have a video on that. Oh, thank you, Mitchell. Thank you for sponsoring my channel. Thanks, man. When's the next Saboteur episode? Tonight. It'll be right after the stream, like 30 minutes after the stream. I already recorded it. I just have to make a thumbnail, and it'll be posted right after the, after the stream. Well, no, I just, I answered the question. They're exclusive, Patrick, but I just answered the question. Person asking me if I was, if I was just gonna stream, but my friend, Brad gave me several great ideas on how to make the Hellraisers gang really evil in my fanfic series. Too long to explain, and no spoilers. That's the biker gang, right? That you created? Okay, let me see here. Okay, let me make a spot here. You're sorry for what, Mr. Waifu? It's okay, don't...
Real tough guy with a gun in your hand.
Do I watch soccer? Not really, not much. Can I join you guys to play on board? What's your PSN again, George? Hey, how do you record so well on PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5? I have OBS, and I use a capture card, and then I have NVIDIA Broadcast, which for this, so I don't even have a green screen. Like, people think I have a green screen. I don't. There's a specific program that you can use that doesn't need a green screen. TCG. Okay, I'll see if I can invite you after this, George. Oh, this is the Black Arabian horse. Hey, Pro, what is your skincare routine? Your skin looks very clean. Oh, thank you. I don't really have any skincare routine. I just, you know, wash my face just normally. It's just, you know, I don't use anything. So, HR are a mixed car gang. Tuners muscle. Oh, okay. Dio Gaming. Am I gonna do the Sniper Elite DLC? Yes. I want to have, I'm gonna have another part of it. I have 2 missions that I have to cover. Thoughts on Assassin's Creed Rogue? It was a very unique Assassin's Creed game. I wish we could see more Assassin's Creed games from the perspective of the Templars. Hey, Professional, are you going to play Mafia 3 soon? Also, would you consider playing Wolfenstein 1, Wolfenstein 2, and Wolfenstein Youngblood? They are good games. Well, thank you, Michelli. I played Wolfenstein 1. So that was like 2014, I think it was, right? I played that one. I beat it. Yeah, I would consider playing them one day again. I like how you're always so humble and so kind to your fans, viewers, and etc. Not many gaming YouTubers are like that, at least from what I've noticed. Oh, thank you, Eric. Thanks, man, for the super chat. Oh, is this mission again where we gotta look for the guy? Man, I wish we could have a mission where we actually, like, fight someone. Supposed to do on this. Oh. Oh, Valiant Hearts? I played that game a long time ago. That's like that scrolling, like, World War I game. I played that a very long time ago, like when it first came out. I know the game you're talking about. A wanted fugitive. You think the next Dark Pictures game is going to take place in outer space? Well, I didn't play the Devil Inside Me yet. I have to play that game. But every single game, they always have a tease at the... Whenever you beat the game, there's always a tease of the next game at the end. Damn, this like that's why I've never liked these missions, the clue ones. There's no one over here. Oh my god. Yeah, these missions suck. Will we go to Times Square during the New Year? Yeah, probably not. Thank you, Michelli. Hey, Professional, are you going to be playing the Sniper Elite 5 DLC missions called Landing Force and Conqueror? Yes, I'll be doing those, Michelli. Can you play Chinatown Wars for Chinese New Year? I could see about doing that. When is Chinese New Year? Let me look that up right now.
It's a February.
Sunday, January 22nd. I could see if I could try to get to that. Do I do Red Dead lore videos? I do, but I haven't done one in a very long time. Last one I did was on Dutch 4 years ago. Thank you, Unknown 98 and DL Gaming. Hi Pro, I had to start over as a member because I was 8 months and 18 days in when my old phone died. By the way, you make awesome content. Thank you, Eric. You don't have to apologize. It's fine, Eric. I do always appreciate the support. Thanks, man. Have you heard Ubisoft Open Wood Star Wars game? Wait, what? What, Hayden? Can you ask that one more time? Hey, Professional, first time watching one of your live streams. Love your content, by the way. Thank you, Viking. Yeah, there is a lot of Red Dead content I could do. I plan to focus more on GTA lore, but you are right, there is Red Dead content I could cover. It's getting really annoying trying to find this guy. History test, name all the American presidents. Oh. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Benjamin Henry Harrison, Teddy Roosevelt, Abraham Lincoln, James K. Polk, James Buchanan, John Quincy Adams, Martin Van Buren, a lot that I'd have to name still. I got a lot of them already down. Andrew Johnson, Andrew Jackson, what else am I missing? William J. Harding, Calvin Coolidge, Richard Nixon, Lyndon B. Johnson, JFK, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Truman, Eisenhower, going on and on. I can name almost all the presidents. Yeah, Grant's there too. You know, modern presidents, I don't want to name any modern presidents, because if I start naming modern presidents, it's going to turn into a political argument in the comment section, a war zone, and so I don't want that. So it's just, but I could name a lot of the historical presidents. Pro, do I like your retail job? Thank you, Mehmet. I haven't worked in retail in 3 years. But I didn't like it when I worked in retail. I didn't like it. Do I have an unfinished playthrough? There was only one playthrough that I never finished, only one. And the one game that I never finished was Star Wars Squadrons. Was the only one that I never finished. And the reason I never finished Star Wars Squadrons, it wasn't even because I didn't have time, it was because I had recorded the Star Wars Squadrons, like the final few missions. And what happened was, I recorded them all, I put it on my desktop, and I shouldn't have done that, but then I deleted everything on my desktop, and I deleted that too, and I deleted, like, my clips of it, Okay. Have I played God of War? I never actually played the games. I know the games. Bro, do you have a New Year's resolution? Not really. Usually not. I'm gonna be uploading kind of like a channel update video soon, and, you know, talking about, you know, some stuff that I have planned. Okay, did you guys find the guy yet? Tons of USA founding fathers died on July 4th, yeah. It was Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, I believe, died on the 4th of July.
It was James Monroe, or one of the James that also died on that day.
I'm not sure. Thank you, Specialist, for the super chat. Here. Oh, great. We got 40 seconds to find this guy. Oh my god, this is just so stupid. Like, I hate these missions where you have to look for the guy. And with this weather, it doesn't make it any easier. Yeah, we probably lost him. Ah, whatever. Is it worth starting plat on Red Dead Redemption? Starting play Red Dead Redemption on PC as a solo player? Oh, Red Dead Redemption Online. Well, online Red Dead Online on PC is just, you know, can be a nightmare because it's modders and cheaters, and it's yeah, it can be bad. Have I played Mountain Blade Bannerlord? Yes, I play that game regularly, actually. I never played it on the channel, but Bannerlord is one of the best open world games I've played. Well, kind of like an open world game, but it's like the battles are just so good, like the fighting is good, the economy, like the trading, all of that stuff, the activities in that game. Bannerlord's a great game. It is. Okay. I'll start up another bounty then, I guess. That bounty is a failed bounty before. Original Battlefront 2 walkthrough. I could do that one day, yeah. I could definitely do that. What will be the worst decade and year to live in? The worst time period to live in? Well, the thing about that is that it's like, here's what people don't ask. People oftentimes ask, what's the worst time period to live in? But what people don't ask is, they don't ask, what's the worst time period and the worst place to live in? Because in certain time periods, it's much better living in certain places than in other places. Like, living in like America in 1941 is much better than living in Europe in 1941, for example. But if you're asking me about the U.S., like what the worst time period to live in the U.S. would be, the U.S., the worst time period in American history would be the 1860s. That's what I would say, the early 1860s. That would probably be it. The American Civil War was happening. And the country had gotten torn in half. You know, the most amount of Americans had died in the Civil War. So I would say, yeah, I would say the Civil War is probably the worst time period to live in American history. Second worst time period in American history would probably be the Great Depression. Worst time period in human history would be World War II. But World War II did not really... World War II, the conflict itself did not really affect mainland U.S. that much. There was some U-boats, like German submarines, that sunk, like Americans' ships off the coast of New York, and then there was, like, the Japanese attacked the Aleutian Islands in Alaska. But the U.S. really didn't see much, you know, combat on American soil during World War II. But, oh yeah, that you're completely right on that, Jake. It's also another big factor to that question would be who you are in that time period also. Because if you're like a Native American in that time period, your life is going to be much worse also. So you got a point there. You're right on that. So it really, when you ask the question, you would ask the question, you know, who you are, you know, what place specifically and what time period, because there's like because that has a big effect on well, Mehmet, I answered your question. I don't work in retail. I haven't worked in 3 years, but I didn't like it. We have to wait until a target arrives. Oh, and I gotta invite George, right? I forgot to invite George. I'm sorry, my bad, George. I'll invite you right after this mission. Yeah, I would say that didn't the Japanese try to cause wildfires in Oregon during World War II? It wasn't necessarily Oregon. It was pretty much the entire West Coast. The Japanese had sent hundreds of these balloons.
No fuss now. Get lost. Go
The Japanese had sent hundreds of these balloons, like, across the ocean. These balloons would just blow up when they touched something and would ignite. And so they were trying to start fires and destroy American infrastructure with that. The balloons, for the most part, did not do anything, though. They fell apart in the ocean. One balloon actually did get through and got into California and killed a family that was having a picnic, I think. So the Japanese with those balloons, that was really the only balloon that actually got through and did something.
Enjoy your last moment.
Okay. Okay, George. Thank you, Mario. I got 370,000 for doing the diamond casino robbery. What do I spend it on, or should I save my money? I would save your money. $370,000 is really easy to lose that money really quickly in GTA Online. I would save it. It depends ultimately on how much money you have. If you have like $50 million around there, more, or around there, then, you know, spend it on whatever you want. But if you only got like a couple $1 million, save it. Because remember, there's also more stuff being drip-fed, and it's probably, there's a taxi business coming out eventually, and so that's probably gonna be, that you'll probably be you'll probably have to buy the property. How was your Christmas, professional? It was good. Okay, it was good. I would hate living in America after the Revolutionary War because of the weak government at the time. Well, it's it depends. It depends where you would be living in America, but what I'll say is like weak. You know, the America was founded on basically having like a weak government. That was like, you know, the country is founded on skepticism of government. You know, the founding fathers tried to keep the government as small as, like, you know, as small as they possibly could. They tried to do the Articles of Confederation. That didn't work so well, and so then they did the U.S. Constitution, which the U.S. Constitution, it, you know, created, you know, a stronger federal government, but it also, you know, put a strong emphasis on states' rights. But back then, when the U.S. was first founded as a country, back then, you virtually paid no taxes. Like, a lot of people don't know that. It was like there was almost no taxes that you paid. The only taxes that you paid back then is you paid taxes on tobacco and alcohol. That's really all you really paid on. If you're wondering where the federal government got most of its tax revenue from, it was from trade. So when other countries would come into America, like Britain or France or another country would like send ships into America, the U.S. government would tariff their goods and would tax them a lot. And that's how, you know, the U.S. government got funded. It kept a very small military, and it, you know, didn't spend a lot of money on a lot of the other, you know, didn't have like, you know, hundreds of military bases as it does today. And so as the government was very, you know, very small. But, you know, that's the way that it was founded at the time. That's the way that the country was based on, and the majority of the American public supported that also. What I would also say is, like, another thing is, there's also two other time periods in history that would be really bad time periods to live in. That a lot of people, like, one of the worst time periods to live in would be the medieval era. The medieval time period would be one of the worst time periods to live in, like, especially medieval Europe. That would be just, like, a really bad time period to live in. And, I don't understand personally, like, the, I don't personally understand, like, the, let me invite him to the, okay, I'm gonna have to make space here. The Day Before, isn't that zombie, like, open world game? Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about, right? Is everyone in the posse? Because I'm not seeing any other players here. I'll make the posse open, so, you know, people can just join here. Oh, it is open already. What type of history do you know about? I generally know more modern history, but I know a little bit about the worst history that I'm at is ancient history. Ancient history I know a little bit about, but I'm the worst of ancient history. I know more, like, modern history to World War I, to, like, the Revolutionary War, the French Revolution. That's, like, you know, my strongest subjects. But, like, you know, what I'll say is that, you know, this, you know, one of the worst time periods to live in would be living in the, medieval era. And, like, I don't know why, but, like, there's this fascination with the medieval era. Like, you know, it's fine to be interested in the history and everything, but if you think that it'd be cool to live in the medieval era, I don't know what's going through your head. Like, people think that'd be cool to live in that time period, it wouldn't. You know, the medieval era is, like, you know, one of the worst time periods to live in, and especially if you live during the Dark Ages, that's even worse. Like, it's just, you know, the fact that you have a very strong chance of dying from, like, you know, the bubonic plague. That was, you know, spreading around everywhere. But, you know, in that time period, if you were, like, you know, if you were a peasant, you were, like, you know, you were poor, you had to live on these manors. You had to live on, like, these big, like, manor farms, which, like, had these big walls around, and you had to live in these little, like, huts. And you would get some money, you would be, you would grow crops, but the Lord would take, like, 70% of your crops, and so you barely have enough to feed your family. And so, you know, if anybody tried to question this, you'd almost always be killed. You'd either be killed or you'd be in serious trouble if you questioned this. If you tried to question the aristocrat or you tried to question the noble would say, like, you know, I'm following the king's orders and the king has a divine right to rule from God. And that was, like, you know, that was like a very bad time period to live in. It was just like, you know, it was not good. Also, if you got sick in that time period, whatever you do, don't go see a doctor if you got sick in that time period, because the doctors were more likely to kill you than the disease itself. Because the doctors back then in that time period were really stupid. They did some really stupid things that got their patients killed. Let's see here. Which one is the target? Okay. Don't shoot the gas on that. It's... He underneath the... What the... Okay. Do you find sci-fi elements added to Grand Theft Auto Online frustrating as it can defeat the point if it's linked with GTA in general? I have a video coming out on this in the future, in which I'll talk about this. But basically, yeah, I would agree with that statement. I think the science fiction stuff is ruining GTA Online. My problem with it, personally. Like, it's just, like, I don't even... It does... It's also... I also care whether it's overpowered or not. But when I see the Oppressor Mark II in GTA Online... I don't hate it mainly because it's overpowered. I hate that too. I hate that people pull it out and are annoying with it. But what I hate about the Oppressor Mark II the most is I feel like it has no place in GTA Online. It ruins the immersion for me. It ruins, like, it ruins GTA Online as a whole because you're supposed to be playing as, like, this gangster, you know, operating his business, you know, building a criminal empire. And, like, you know, I'll give you a perfect example. Let's say that you're role-playing like a biker gang, right? You're role-playing like a biker gang, and, like, you and your friends are, like, you know, driving choppers down the highway, right? And then some idiot just comes out of nowhere for an Oppressor Mark II and blows you all up. That just ruins the immersion of it. It's not even about the fact that you got killed. It just ruins, like, the whole immersion of it. It's like you can't take the game seriously. It's just like, stupid. It's just dumb, like, when they do stuff like that. I don't like the Deluxe, so the Oppressor Mark I, Oppressor Mark II, the Orbital Cannon. I'd take all that stuff out of the game, if I could. I'd leave the Mark II weapons in. I'd leave the military vehicles in, but I'd take all the futuristic stuff out, because at least the military vehicles are based on real vehicles. At least there's that. Where a lot of the futuristic vehicles aren't real. You know, they're not. So it's just... I didn't think that they're gonna ever add, like, futuristic sci-fi stuff to a GTA game like that. You know, if you, like, I consider myself, like, a big GTA 4 veteran, and so, like, I'm a big GTA 4 player. Like, I played GTA 4 a lot back in the day. I got a platinum trophy in GTA 4. I even had, like, the certificate from Rockstar for 100% completion for GTA 4. And so, if you told me that, like, you know, back in the day when I used to play GTA 4, if you were to tell me that, like, GTA 5 is gonna have, like, flying futuristic motorcycles and stuff, I'd laugh at you and be like, there's no way Rockstar would do that. That's just stupid. So that's just, that I wouldn't have believed you if you told me that. Yeah, you're right on that, Zoe. Like, the medieval era, people were very poor, and there's a lot of diseases out there, and it was just not a good time period to live in. Thank you, Viking.
Good business. Damn good business.
Would you remove the Stromberg and the Toreador?
There's your piece of silver.
I can tolerate those vehicles a little bit more because they're cars, but I would still ultimately remove them, yes. But I would if I can't remove the Torador and the Stromberg, I'd remove the Oppressor Mark II. That's what I would remove. The Oppressor Mark II and Orbital Cannon. That'll be my priority to get rid of those things. Thank you, Mark. But honestly, like, you know, there's these people that, like, come to my channel, and they've been coming to my channel for years, and they'll be like, oh, the professional hates the Mark II and all this stuff, and he's a buzzkill, he doesn't want to make the game fun and stuff like that. It's just my opinion. You know, even if the majority of people disagree with me, this is just how I view things. I'm not going to change my opinion because it might be unpopular. It's just how I view things. I don't think the Oppressor Mark II has a place in GTA Online. That's my view. Feel free to disagree with me, but I don't think I'm a hardcore GTA 4 player, and I don't think that, it has a place in, I don't think that it has a place in GTA 5, personally. Do you remember my friend Quattro? He always asked if you like your retail job. It was like 3 or 4 years ago. I think I remember him, Mehmet. Thank you for the, super chat. Can you invite me now? I'm done. Thank you, George.
Yeah, I need to invite to the session, because...
Okay, are you in here, George? You were like, what was... George, what is your PSN again? Hey, Pro, if you go back and you witness a specific historical event in person, what would you like to see? Maybe the Revolutionary War? Yeah, maybe that. Yeah, probably. It's a more of a tough question, bro. It'd be like, yeah, I'd think about that. Because I'd like to see an interesting time period, but I wouldn't want to see something dangerous either. So it's just, you know... I kind of like the Oppressor Mark 1 and the Scramjet because I do stunts with them, but I hate the Oppressor Mark 2 and the Lux. So yeah, and that's it, Android. And the thing is, though, is... Oh, what the... What just happened? What? Okay, I don't understand. I'm in the Elite Enforcer Posse? Wait, what? I'm confused. Wait, what? What? Can you... Are you in this session, George? Okay, let me see here. Would you agree that the American Civil War was our country's first modernish war? Yeah, I would agree with that. Civil War was kind of the first modern war, where you had like, you know, you had people that were just, people were just dying on, like, a massive scale really quickly in the Civil War. And so, the last time in history that people really died on a massive scale before the Civil Wars and Napoleonic Wars. But the Napoleonic Wars didn't really touch America. You had the War of 1812, which was kind of spillover of it. But, you know, the War of 1812, we didn't see the combat that Europe saw. Because, like, in the War of 1812, we had, like, you know, thousands of troops fighting each other. But in the Napoleonic Wars, you had hundreds of thousands of troops fighting each other. And games similar to Red Dead Redemption 2 you like? What's a new game? There actually aren't that many games similar to Red Dead Redemption 2 that are, like, new right now. Yeah, in Sapoli, unfortunately, there's really nothing like that out there right now. Yeah, I am, George. Chronos history, thank you. But do you guys know what another really bad time period would be to live in? A lot of people are fascinated with the Wild West. And the Wild West, you wouldn't want to live in the Wild West either. But do you know what the worst time period to live in the Wild West would be? It'd be the Gold Rush. The Gold Rush would probably be the worst time at the Wild West to live. And the reason for the Gold Rush is the Gold Rush is a terrible part in U.S. history. It's a terrible moment. People think that because they found gold that it's like a good time period. It was a really bad time period. And here's the thing about the Gold Rush is that in the gold rush, almost nobody that actually found gold got rich. There's almost nobody really that, there's really no, well, I'm sure there's maybe like a few people that got rich from the gold rush, but there's very few people that actually got rich from finding gold. There was people that got rich during the gold rush, but they weren't miners. Do you know who got rich during the gold rush? It was the merchants, the traveling merchants, the merchants that would follow the miners around and they would sell them equipment. Those are the people that got rich. The miners didn't get rich during the gold rush. So basically, what with the gold rush is they found some gold in the west. And people went out in the West thinking that they were going to make a fortune. They thought that they were going to become millionaires within a few days, and people went crazy with this. And it's almost like a mental illness. It's like a disease in your head. Like, it's just that these people were just so obsessed with the gold. They were just completely ignorant of everything else that was going on. It was just like an obsession. It was just a disease. They just really wanted the gold, and it just got to them, and it just made people go crazy. And it was that. Basically, what happened is, when you see the ghost towns in the Wild West, you know the ghost towns, like a town like Tumbleweed and a town like Coulter. Coulter and Tumbleweed are both gold rush towns. That's both what they were. If you look at outside Tumbleweed, do you know what you see outside Tumbleweed? There's a mine outside Tumbleweed that's abandoned. That's the main reason probably why Tumbleweed is abandoned in Red Dead Online. It's a gold rush town. Basically, what happened was, when there was gold found near a town, that town would have a boom. There would be a massive, giant jump in its economy. People would be sleeping in the town, renting out hotel rooms. They would be buying stuff in the towns, eating in the towns. But the second that the gold dried up, guess what happened? Everybody left the towns. They left the towns. And what happened was the towns then became ghost towns. No one visited the towns, and they were gone. And that's how most towns became ghost towns in the Wild West. It was because of the gold rush. The gold dried up, and they weren't able. They didn't find anything, and people just left the town to search for more gold. And what I'll tell you about it is that these Tumbleweed isn't abandoned. Well, I mean Tumbleweed in Red Dead Redemption 1. In Red Dead Redemption 1, Tumbleweed becomes abandoned. So that's in the first game. It's not abandoned in the second game, but that's what ends up happening. Okay, let's get rid of these guys here. Okay. Tumbleweed got abandoned because the railway didn't go through them. That's a part of it, Lamar, also. You know, railway and less visitors. Yes, that's definitely a part of it. But my theory personally is that it's the abandoned mine that's outside the town. But basically what happened though with the gold rush is that if you want a perfect example of some of the stuff that happened during the gold rush is, think about it this way, is that if you were searching for gold, right? You were searching for gold. If you found a little bit of gold, do you know what you would do with that gold? Instead of putting it in your pocket and saving it, what people would do is instead they would use that gold to buy more supplies. You see that? And then those supplies would run out, they'd find a little bit of gold, and they'd use that to get more supplies, thinking that they're going to strike rich, and they never strike rich. And then the merchants get rich, and they don't get rich. And I'll give you a perfect example. These merchants were scumbags. They took advantage of the miners' desperations. Basically, I'll give you an example. Say that you're digging for gold, right? You're using a shovel. Your shovel breaks. And what happens is, the merchant will tell you, you know, $50 for a new shovel. Back then, $50 was an insane amount of money. And so it's like you tell them, like, you know, $50 back then. Let me see what that would have been. $50 in that time period would have been about $1,500. And what happened is you could go into a town and buy that same shovel for $10. But people would pay these insane prices for these shovels. Why? Why would they pay, you know, something like, you know, an insane amount of money for the shovel? You know, when they could get it cheaper in the town. Why would they buy it from the merchant? Because the merchant would say to you, if you go to the town and you buy the shovel, by that time somebody else could find the gold and you'll miss out. And so the miners would then pay the insane amounts of money and buy the shovel and get scammed by the merchant. And so that's exactly how it was. It was like a disease. This obsession with like you know, this obsession with just trying to find the gold constantly. It was an obsession with it. It was a disease. And then what also happened is that the gold rush caused wars also. Because what happened was the U.S. government put a lot of the Native American tribes on reservations, and the land that they gave the Native Americans was oftentimes poor quality land. But then there was gold found on the Native American land, and you can imagine what happened at that point. Then a lot of the white settlers went on the Native American land trying to get gold, and the Native Americans got really pissed off that there was people going on their land, and that caused hostilities, and that caused wars. So the gold rush basically spilled into a war as well, with Native American tribes, because gold was found on their land. And so this is just why the gold rush was just such a it was just such a stupid, like, it was just such a bad time in American history. It would have been good if nobody ever found gold. That would have been much better. If nobody ever found gold, nobody ever found gold during the gold rush, it would have been much better. But finding gold, that just basically opened Pandora's box in that time period. That was basically what it was. So it was just it's just the gold rush caused so many problems. Please make more Red Dead lore videos. It's interesting to watch and learn. What do you know about Irish history? I don't actually know that much about Irish history. I know about the famines in Ireland. I know a little bit about the Irish Civil War, and then Ireland became independent. I don't see George. Are you appearing online? Because you might not be appearing online. If you're not appearing online, I can't invite you because you're not appearing to invite. Have you ever heard of the Capitale Rush? No, but you're probably trolling me there. Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Unknown. Okay, let's take him to the Valentine Sheriff's Office, and, we will, in, like, when there's like a minute left, we'll deliver the target. Bro, I don't think I'm your friend. My bad. Sorry. Wait. No, I think I have you added. George, what's your PSN? What is it again? Tell me. You don't have to super chat me. Just tell me what your PSN is. But, basically, there's a really good TV show called Into the West, Into the West is like an old TV show. I think it's from the 1990s. So it's not very old, but it's like 30 years old. And Into the West has, like, a lot of episodes on, like, different things that were happening in the Wild West, and it's actually pretty educational. It's pretty historically accurate on a lot of the stuff. It's in the early days of the Wild West. And so they have a few episodes on the Gold Rush alone. And, in those episodes on the Gold Rush, basically what happens is, like, two cousins are looking for gold, right? And what happens is, they both stumble upon this giant piece of gold. Like, it's a giant piece. And it's this giant golden rock that they find is enough to make them both millionaires. And they could easily split it both in half and become millionaires and live comfortably for the rest of their lives. But what happens is, one of the cousins gets, like, greedy and says that because they were using his tools or something like that, that the other cousin is only gonna get, like, 20% or something like that. And then the other cousin gets mad that he's getting cut out, and so he tries to take the whole gold rock for himself. And he tries to get in the boat, and he tries to run away. The other cousin chases him. He jumps in the river, chasing after his cousin. He pulls out his gun. He shoots his cousin dead on the boat. And then the gold, I think, falls in the water. So the cousin that tried to take the gold dies, getting shot. And the second cousin, when he tried to get the gold out of the water, guess what? He didn't know how to swim, and he drowned. And they both died. And that was a perfect example of the horror of the gold rush, is the greed, just the obsession with just finding the gold. And just, they both could have just split the gold easily, could have both been millionaires, but because both of their greed just killed them. And that was just basically, the gold rush, a terrible time in American history. And there's, like, horror stories, like, if you ever know about, like, Scooby-Doo, like, remember the old Scooby-Doo episodes when you had, like, the miners, like, the ghost miners and stuff like that? I think it was Miner 49er. What was it? It was, like, something like that. Basically what that was is there was, like, these stories that, like, the miners who died looking for the gold, they were, like, haunting, like, the areas, that they're still looking for gold and stuff like that. So that's basically what that's about, is, like, the gold rush is, like, a really bad, really bad time period in American history. Okay. Let's just deliver the target when there's a minute left here.
My host wouldn't come to me, and then, I didn't know where the target was. I think somebody else had him.
Oh, it's okay, whatever,
I think we're gonna fail this mission, though. I don't think we'll have enough.
It's
time.
okay. How do you
I think YK
Armin...
has the target.
Wait, what?
Oh, yeah, alright. Yeah, it's still at the camp right now. I mean, I've got the.
Yeah, I was in a session, but the mission won't appear.
How do you think Armadillo became so alive from 1907 to 1911 in such a short time, meaning Tumbleweed died? Well, that's precisely it. One town dies, so the people from that town go to the other town. The train tracks ran right through Armadillo, you know, became like, and Armadillo is also really close to the Mexican border. So it's just, you know, it's just, the town's just gonna have a lot of trade and activity. So it's just like, geography plays a huge role in whether towns will be successful or not. You put a town in the wrong spot, it's not going to grow. You put a town in the right spot, it can grow really well. Like Las Vegas, for example, that town was built in the right spot. Like Las Vegas, you know, Las Vegas was a small town where originally a lot of the workers who worked on the Hoover Dam, when the Hoover Dam was being built, so they had the government was building a large construction project, the Hoover Dam, large infrastructure, and a lot of the workers that started living in the town, and they also started gambling in the small casinos in Las Vegas, and Las Vegas grew over time. It just became, if Hoover Dam wasn't there, and the casinos hadn't grown, Las Vegas probably would not have become the town that it is today. So that's like imagine a gangster game where he plays like Al Capone's crew on console, open world game. Well, the thing about that is they kind of already have that. It's called Empire of Sin, but Empire of Sin is kind of like an open world strategy game. You can play as Al Capone in the game, but what I'll say is that, here's what I'll say about it, is that if they make a game in that time period, I don't want to see like Al Capone or something like that. They can make like a fictional gangster that's like based on Al Capone, but the reason I don't want to see like Al Capone and those gangsters is because we already know how their stories end. You know, we know how everything's gonna go, and so I would much rather, you know, I'd much rather have like a fresh set of characters, like a fictional mafia boss or something like that, like somebody like, you know, Salieri or Morello in like the original mafia games, like, you know, fresh set of like bosses and stuff like that. That's what I would like to see.
I literally got here as well when it got to 1 second and time expired.
My bad, my internet went out on me phone. I'm still in game. Okay, well, yeah, Brazil has actually a very dark history. A very dark history. Brazil is actually the last country in the Western Hemisphere, I believe, to actually end slavery. Like, Brazil ended slavery, I think it was like 50 years after the American Civil War. Britain was the first country, I think, in Europe, in Western Europe, to end slavery. It was the 1830s. America ended slavery officially with the end of the Civil War in 1865. Brazil, I think, ended slavery like it was like 10 years before World War I. I think it was like, yeah, it was, let me look this up here. 1888. Okay, so Brazil ended slavery about 23 years after the American Civil War. So that's in Brazil. I think it was like one of the last countries in the Western world that ended slavery. Okay, let's see here.
Oh, hello again. Never too soon, huh?
Everything's done here. Okay. Are empires bad or good? Bad. Every empire in history is bad. Basically, the idea of empire is taking over an area and profiting from its resources, taking stuff that's not yours. That's literally what empires are. You know, are made to make the government money at the expense of others. That's what an empire is. You know, there are empires in history that are worse than others, definitely. But ultimately, empire is not a good thing. Empire is ultimately a bad thing. See here, where are we gonna go? Go to Strawberry. If you look, if you want to know how bad empires are, I will like whenever you had like a large scale empire anywhere in the world, you always had massive suffering, like massive. Like you look from Asia to Europe, it's just whenever you have an empire, it's always just there's always just some suffering. People just. You know, people being abused, being taken advantage of by that empire, and also what empires don't understand is they don't understand self-determination. They don't understand that people want to be able to decide their own future. They don't want to be forced to by some, you know, scummy empire. And so, you know, empires, they really don't care about the self-determination of people. They don't care about country sovereignties. They'll just roll in and take advantage of them. Who do you think is the most evil in Ace Attorney? The most evil Ace Attorney character. Well, I only played the original Ace Attorney games, the Phoenix Wright trilogy, and I played the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Who would I say? The most evil character in the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles would probably be McGilded or Strongheart. The most evil character in the original Ace Attorney game would probably be either Matthew Ongard, or Dahlia, or Von Karma's pretty bad too. So they're you know, they're all really bad. Like the Ace Attorney, the original Ace Attorney games, like the Phoenix Wright games, have some really evil people, and so it'd be pretty hard to determine which one is the worst one. It's been a heck of a year. I hope things start to calm down a bit. Thanks for all the content you put out, professional. Thank you, Victor. Thank you for the super chat. Oh, Mao Zedong was a terrible leader. He wasn't just a terrible leader, he was an evil leader. He was a terrible human being. He did not value people's lives at all. Like, it was just, you know, with Mao, basically, you know, what happened was Mao Zedong put in a policy of mass collectivization, like right after the, he tried to nationalize everything and just collectivize everything after World War II. And what happened was China was really destroyed after World War II. Like, it was in a really bad shape. It was that the, they had gone through Japanese occupation, fighting the Japanese since the 1930s. And then they had a civil war that raged for a few years. And with that, you know, just his policies, all the mass collectivization at once, all of that, it was a disaster. It caused massive famines. Millions and millions of people died in starvation in China. It was really bad. And what happened was the policies that Mao Zedong put in were so bad that even the Soviets said that he was going too far. Like the Soviets had told him that he was going too far, but Mao Zedong didn't want to listen. So it was that. It was just like yeah, it was just, yeah, he was a really bad guy.
Pro, I'm gonna get off now, okay?
Okay. I'll see you then. See you then, Trio. Are you familiar with the use of death matches with proximity chat are used for PlayStation roleplay on GTA 5? Some people live stream it a lot. Death chat, is that like when you hear the person for like a few seconds after you kill them, like in Call of Duty? Is that what it is? To the Blackwater camp here. Well, that's one of the reasons that the Sino-Soviet split happened, because the Soviet Union didn't like the policies that China was doing. What is this? We got a legendary animal here. Oh, I don't have any more sedative rounds. Does anybody have any sedative rounds right now? Okay, let's see here. I'll just leave. You know, I'm just gonna kill it. And I'm just gonna give it to my camp. Where is it? Yeah. Damn this thing. Okay. No horse. No, no. No. God. Okay. Oh, look at that, guys. The blizzard is kicking in. You guys, last time I was streaming Red Dead Online, you guys didn't see what the blizzard looks like in Red Dead Online. This is the blizzard kicking in right now. It gets worse a little bit later on. Like, oh, I'll tell you, last stream I did, I just titled it "The snow in this game is so much better than GTA Online." I had people that were just coming in and just hating on me, and they were just saying, "Oh, you're hating on GTA." It's like, no, I wasn't. That was not my intention at all. I was just showing that isn't this snow much better than GTA? I was just showing people love the snow in GTA so much, but chasing this thing, this is getting annoying. Horse, come over here.
You're dead.
What the?
You're gonna meet your mate.
Do you not see that I'm hunting an animal? Okay, this. No, that was not murder. That was self-defense. Okay. Literally, you know what I'm thinking of right now? I'm literally thinking of that. You know that episode of that YouTube channel that does like all the Red Dead Online, like the Red Dead Redemption 2 like parodies, right? And it's like the one where like the witness, right? The witness, it's like he defends himself, and then the witness is like, you committed a crime, you committed a murder. You know, that was self-defense. You guys saw that. That was not murder. That was literally it. I was shooting at like an animal. I wasn't even shooting in his direction, and he's just like, "You're dead," and he's just like, you know that. Okay, go. Where on earth is this thing? Okay, this thing runs far. Okay, this is getting ridiculous. Where is it? Okay. All these bushes. And also when the blizzard kicks in, it drops the temperature down by like 20 degrees. Great. Okay. I'm gonna... Twice shot. I think one more shot will do it, right? Yeah. Damn, it just loves those bushes. I killed it? Okay. I stepped on it. Oh. Okay, there we go. I literally stepped on it. That's how I killed it. Can you tell Burbird that I'm not random and to add CCG? I think I have you added already. You might be appearing offline. Didn't I invite you already, George, earlier? I think you were in the session, weren't you? Yeah, the snow in this game is crazy. The snow in the online is so much better than GTA snow. So this is like what happens when the blizzard kicks in. Bro, could you handle 10 degrees Fahrenheit? Oh yeah, no problem. I stood outside for 2 hours when it was 10 degrees once. So it's like I can handle the cold. I was standing outside when the PS5 came out in November of 2020. Like the Target that was in my town they were gonna get a shipment of PS5s in, and so I wanted to be there when they come in, and so I actually kind of camped outside. I actually sat in my car in the parking lot. I sat there from like midnight to like 7 a.m. Well, when it hit 5 a.m., I was sitting in my car the whole time. When it hit 5 a.m., I saw a bunch of cars pull up. And so at that point, when those cars pulled up, I just got out of my car and just walked to the store because I knew people were gonna start waiting in line. And so I started sitting out there waiting. Well, I wasn't sitting or standing, but waiting out there. And so I just hung out and just looked at stuff on my phone. It wasn't, the most pleasant experience, but I could handle it. Okay. I know a lot of the locations the guy spawns in. Oh, there he is. Jess, are you still here?
you don't want to do this.
Oh, you found an antique
Get the hell away from
alcohol
me.
bottle. Okay.
Hey, you turn around and leave already. Christ almighty!
Jess, can you just put this guy on your horse, if possible? Because I just have the coyote. Yeah, look at the snow in this game. The snow is just amazing. I wish that it would snow more in this game.
Oh, I'm done here.
Okay, let me see here. Oh, I missed a bunch of comments. Today marks 100 years since the creation of the USSR. Yes, well, it was 1922. It was the Russian Soviet was formed in 1917, but then the whole Soviet Union was formed in 1922.
Oh shit! Not
Thank you,
again.
Edgy. I saw that you did a charity stream not too long ago for veterans. Do you remember how much you raised in total? Yes, we raised over $1,100 for charity, and then I have the charity linked on my videos. So when you see my videos, they're on the right side, not on streams, but they're on the right side of like videos. Any new video that I post, you'll see the charity. It's Semper Fi Fund. That's the name of the charity. It's a good charity. You can look it up. It's reliable. They help wounded veterans, and they help disabled veterans find employment, help find housing, you know, provide food, education. They're just a great charity. Also, whenever I do a charity stream, I always donate live. I always do that. So I always donate to the charity itself also.
Hey, bro.
Hey, what's up?
Not much.
Unbind me now, I mean it.
I'm getting off. I'll see you guys later.
Okay, I'll see you. Take care, man. Man, look at the
Hey,
storm right
Pro.
now. 9 degrees, yeah. But actually, this is around the same temperature that it was when I was actually in North Dakota for that North
shit.
Yankton video. So this was around the same temperature.
Well, it did went down around 20 and around 20 and 10 in Florida.
It was 20 degrees in Florida?
Yeah, it was around.
Are you living in northern Florida?
Yeah, northern, like
Yeah,
northwest.
that's why.
And
Okay, thank you
bro,
for
I
taking
also I also got myself a expensive Lego set.
What did you say?
I ordered an expensive Lego set, like one of the expensive ones, the one that are getting discontinued.
Be me again.
Someone in the chat mentioned Fuga in chat. Oh, yeah, Fuga is a scummy company. I heard they're claiming Red Dead Redemption 1 soundtracks now too. It was minus 17 the other day in Ohio. Yeah, it dropped where I live in the Midwest. It actually dropped to like it was minus 40 something with wind chill. That was like 2 weeks ago.
Damn.
I got him. Thank you for taking him.
Job well and truly done. They're going to face a judge. That there is what the state deems
What do you
their
think of
worth.
the new demonetization rules? I don't know. What are these rules? First time I'm hearing about this. Okay, let's see, camp here. George, are you appearing online by any chance? If you're still here, George, are you appearing online? I think I have you added, don't I? I want to make sure I'm here.
Yeah, I would like to join, but I let one of my friends borrow Red Dead for a bit.
Okay. Okay, size and location. Okay, large camp. Here we go. Okay, well, George, I don't know what's wrong then, because, oh, you never added me. Oh, okay, that was it then. Jess, if George sends you a request, would you be able to add him by any chance? Because I just can't add anyone during the stream. But it was I mean, it's up to you, Jess, if you want to. But it's if you add a Burb, though George, he could probably invite you. Okay, Okay, let me go to my camp here.
I don't know why I didn't got that car yet. Oh, this is the car I want the most.
Okay.
Supplies are starting to run
Yeah,
low.
that Lego set
So,
has like over like 2,000 pieces.
Order these supplies here.
All right, moving right along.
Was I affected by the snowstorm in that hit the U.S.? Not really. No. If I lived where I lived in the Midwest, because I'm visiting family for the holidays. If I was in the Midwest where I live, yes, I would be affected by that. But because I'm visiting New York, and you know my parents live right outside the city, so it's this is you know, it's not bad here. Upstate New York, you know, Buffalo area, that's where it's gotten really bad there. It sickens me how Andrew Tate moved to Romania because he knew he could bribe his way out of any situation. Hopefully not this time around. I didn't even know he moved to Romania, but it was that I just never had a good feeling about that guy. That guy was always creeped me out. Hey, Jonathan.
Hybrid Ferrari. What kind of Ferrari is it? It looks so weird. Looks like electric.
Happy New Year, Pro and everyone. Hi, GB. Happy New Year. Bro, tell me some Roman history. Well, Rome was originally a republic. It eventually became an empire. Julius Caesar was the, you know, most famous Roman emperor. But, Rome had some really bad leadership and some really stupid, like, emperors. But, you know, do you know what the main reason that the, one of the main reasons the Romans had, like, fallen apart? It's because they were constantly conquering territories and not securing it. That's what it was. And there's a difference between conquering something and securing it. Securing it basically means it's completely under your control. You know, it's because you conquer something doesn't mean that it's under your control. Like, for example, like when Napoleon marched into Russia and they started, like, you know, burning stuff, he technically was conquering those parts, but he wasn't securing them. So that was, so the Romans, they had conquered so much land, and they were fighting so many endless wars, especially with, like, they were fighting against, like, the Germanic tribes and stuff like that, and they were constantly trying to expand, but they didn't even fully secure the areas they conquered. And so there's bandits and other problems in those areas, and they just kept spending more and more on the military. And what happened was the citizens of Rome, the Roman government had told them that they need to start working more now, because the empire is in, you know, bad economic turmoil, and the people rebelled and rioted over that. And then eventually the, you know, the barbarians came into Rome, they sacked Rome, and that was pretty much the end of it. It collapsed. The whole thing just fell apart. So that was just, it was like bad policies, you know, stupid, pointless wars they were constantly waging.
And why are you raising hell on me?
Okay, everyone's here. Okay.
Hey, Pro, what's up?
Hey, Jonathan, what's up, man? How are you?
No, I'm fine. Just had a new. I mean,
Did you have a good Hanukkah?
oh yeah, I had a good Hanukkah.
That's good.
You got a whole 3 Camp 3.
Are you able to turn up your mic a little bit? I can't really hear you that well.
I'm saying I spent the last 3 days, not the last 3 days, but three first days of Hanukkah camping, so that was fun. Besides that, not much else.
Am I a Marxist or an institutionalist? What? I'm definitely not a Marxist.
By
I
the way,
don't know what an institutionalist is. I'd have to look that up.
about the Roman Empire, don't forget that 2,000 years later, Monty Python wrote one of the best movies I've ever seen.
Oh, that's the British comedian, right?
Yeah, it's a group of comedians actually.
Yeah, actually, I've never heard of the I've never heard about you know, institutionalism, so I don't know what that is. But yeah, I'm not a Marxist, I'm not a communist, so it's just I don't like communism. You know, I think communism
me too. And I'm
communism
also
is a,
against it too.
you know, communism is just a failed system. It's a failed, you know, ideology, and it's just yeah, it was just you know, communism is one of the most biggest failures in like human history, definitely.
Yeah, and it leads like
Yeah,
millions
but,
like dead.
The idea of like a perfect communism is described like in the script. It's a pretty good idea. Just the problem with human nature is that, like,
Well, it's
that can't happen.
It's that human nature basically proves that like communism is just like a failed ideology. Let me see here.
Yeah, exactly.
Hi Pro, keep up the good work. Thank you, Brett. Thanks, man. Thank you for the super chat. Hey Pro, how's your Christmas holiday? Did Santa Claus come to your house to steal your Christmas presents? No, Isaiah, but I did have a good good holidays. Thank you. Do you think Nazism or communism was worse? Or Nazism was worse than communism, definitely. You know, a lot. I've heard people say, for example, that the Soviets were worse than the Nazis, but the Nazis, I consider them much worse than the Soviets. I'm not saying the Soviets were good. The Soviets were definitely bad. You know, Stalin was an evil madman. But you know what people. Here's what people don't fully understand is that the whole reason that the Nazis had actually invaded Poland and they invaded the Soviet Union, they invaded Eastern Europe, it was called Lebensraum, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. That was basically Hitler's idea of living space for Germans. He wanted to expand Germany's borders so he could settle Germans there. And if the Nazis had won World War II, what they would have done is they would have just mass murdered every single Slav in Eastern Europe, because the Nazis hated Slavic people. They considered Slavic people inferior. They would have killed all Slavic people. They would have killed anyone who was Jewish, anyone who was Roma, anyone who was gay, anyone who was handicapped. They would have just slaughtered everyone. It just would have been ethnic cleansings. Hundreds of millions of people would have died. It was just, so that's why it's, just so grateful that they were just defeated and they were stopped, because it's like the Poles, Russians, Belarusians, Ukrainians, they would have all been exterminated, all of them. The Nazis would have probably Germanified the French, meaning that they would have forced the French to become Germans over time. They would have done the same thing to the Scandinavian countries. They would have Germanified them over time. The Italians, they probably would have betrayed the Italians eventually and would have invaded Italy. Well, they technically did invade Italy in 1943, but they would have eventually probably gotten rid of Mussolini too. And so yeah, it was the Nazis were just much worse than the communists. It was just, yeah.
Yeah, I always thought the Nazis were like worse, like dictatorship, all that.
Slavics to the Germans were how like the Chinese were to the Japanese. Yeah, you're kind of right on that. The Nazis saw the Slavic people as subhuman, and the Japanese saw anybody that they conquered as, you know, inferior to them. So it was you are kind of right on that. I can't wait to see what songs Rocks will remove from GTA 5 when the 10th anniversary comes. Surely a great way to celebrate. They're gonna release GTA 5 again on the 10th anniversary. What? It's again? What is it gonna be? GTA 5 expanded and enhanced twice? It's just.
I guess I'll get 200K for free if I purchase it. I bet I would.
Thank you, Bunny, for that super chat. Do I like football like soccer? You mean American football or soccer? If you mean American football, I'm not interested at all. Soccer, I watch when it's like the World Cup, but not much more than that. Institutionalism is the system of institutions or organized societies devoted to public, charitable, or similar purposes. I don't know, like, you know, I'd have to research what that is exactly. I don't know what, that's just a definition, but I don't know what institutionalism is. It's like the first time that I've heard of it. So I don't really know what that is. I'd have to research what that is exactly. But, you know, I'm just generally like, you know, I'm just generally like a small government guy. I don't think the government should interfere in people's personal lives and, telling people how to live. That's just basically, you know, my view on it.
Yeah, I prefer small government too.
I just wanted to say I'm really enjoying the Saboteur playthrough. It's bringing back a lot of nostalgia. Thank you. I'm actually having a lot of nostalgia as I play through it also. Even if this community was neglected by Rockstar, it still stands strong like iron. Well, thank you, and
this Hesser, like... This
libertarian, basically. Not really. Not really. I considered myself a libertarian when I was in high school, but I'm, like, not really. I take there's some things I believe in that's not very libertarian, but then there's other things that I believe in that are kind of libertarian. So it's like, you kind of a mix of everything. But I'm generally like a small government guy. Low taxes. I don't think the government should interfere in people's lives. You know, tell people who they can and can't marry. You know, I think the government should stay out of people's lives. That's just, I think if the government stopped getting involved in so many things, I think personally it'd be better. Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you, Joker. Thank you for stopping by.
I'm surprised they haven't removed this gun on this Hetzer, this upgrade. That thing's like one shot.
Do you think it's likely that we'll get to see another Saboteur game in our lifetime? Well, EA owns the rights to Saboteur. So, the best way that we can see another Saboteur game is if EA just does a complete remake of it. But I highly doubt they'll do that, because the Saboteur doesn't have that big of a following on it. It's a popular game, people like it, but it doesn't have that much of a following on it. Not really, no, Mark. I'm kind of in the middle on a lot of things. Happy New Year's, Pro. Thank you, Joker. Thank you, $100 super chat. That's, that is the symbol for pounds, or the... That's the symbol for pounds, or the,
I think that's a euro.
Yeah, I was thinking it's the symbol for euro. I always get the pound symbol and the euro symbol mixed up. I always do.
I deal with a lot of...
Thank you, Joker. Thank you for, thank you, man. Largest super chat today. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Hello.
Okay, when there's under a minute left, we'll just deliver the guy.
I missed the old world tanks. If I was a billionaire, I'll definitely buy like Rockstar and maybe EA.
What's that coat? Please tell me. Oh, this is Arthur's coat. Can somebody tell him in the comments how to unlock Arthur's coat again? Because you have to do something to unlock it. I actually forget what you have to do specifically. I've had it for some time. I haven't played the new Modern Warfare 2 raid.
Ooh. Huh, good thing he knows that kind of gun to penetrate this through this Hetzer. And I got obliterated by a destroyer. Yay.
When you said that Cuba had it rough, I think Haiti had it even worse, even though it's the first country in Latin America to gain independence. Yeah, well, Cuba's, Cuba had suffered under Spanish colonialism, but it was that, what was it? It was Haiti had suffered under the French colonialism, and Haiti was largely like a slave colony. You know, the Haitians had suffered like a great deal in their history. And Haiti is actually one of the first countries in the world that had rebelled successfully against like a European power and had become their own country. So it's like Haiti's like one of the oldest modern countries, if that makes sense. YouTube's new policy is absolute garbage. Can you explain to me what the policy is exactly? But like, some people are telling me YouTube's new policies are really bad. Can somebody just explain to me what the policies is? You don't have to super chat me again, Victor. I do really appreciate it. Thank you for the super chat. If somebody could explain to me really quickly what's the policies exactly. Why, I'm seeing a lot of comments, people saying it's bad, but I don't know what it is exactly. It's about swearing, what? Cursing? What happens if the characters in the game curse?
Never mind, you can't say that. I was about to say you were the F word. You were talking about a policy against profanity. Like, the new profanity in Call of Duty is insane. Like, I tried spelling out something that means, like...
Well, you can't join one Call of Duty lobby without somebody cursing. It's just...
Hebrew?
Wait, what did you say? You said you tried to spell something in what?
I tried to say that, like, the Call of Duty profanity filter is, like, insane. I tried to write something that means something in Israeli, not even something that is profanity, just, like, in Hebrew, and it just, like, telling me that I can't use that because it's profanity.
So they have a filter for multiple languages, but what did you type exactly that was considered profanity?
It's like a name, like in the Mishnah it says every Yom Kippur you take a chicken, spin it around your head to remove the sins, and then chop off it. That's called kapara. So like, my friend has this name, like this clan tag, since I think Black Ops 2. Like, we would always do that. So I tried to put it in here and it wouldn't let me.
And you said this isn't even like a really bad, like, curse word?
It's not a curse word at all.
Oh, well then I'm just confused then. Who do you think is a worse dictator, Salazar of Portugal or Franco of Spain? I actually do not know that much about Salazar. I don't. I know much more about Francisco Franco. Francisco Franco was like, you know, he was like, you know, Francisco Franco, he was an authoritarian. He overthrew the government. He wanted to establish, like, you know, his fascist state in Spain. And the thing about this is, this is what a lot of people get wrong, is that the fascism that was in, because Spain was a fascist country, but it didn't fight in World War II. They sent volunteers to fight on the German side, but they didn't officially fight in World War II. Spain was a fascist country. What was it? Germany was a fascist country, Italy was a fascist country, and then you had like fascist movements in other countries, but the German fascism and Spanish fascism is very different, for example. German fascism has little to nothing to do with religion. Like, German fascism is all based on race, their obsession with the Aryan race. Spanish fascism, on the other hand, is based on religion. It's based on the Catholic Church. It revolves around nationalism, and it revolves around the Catholic Church. German Nazism nationalism was revolving around the German state and the Aryan race. They believed that they were superior, and they believed that they were better than everyone. It was that. And then Italian fascism was a bit different than both Spanish and German fascism. Italian fascism, it was weird because Mussolini was an atheist, and he admitted to it. But even though Mussolini was an atheist, he had kept a very strong, like, the fascist party in Italy kept like a very strong relationship with the Catholic Church, where the Nazis hated the Catholic Church. But the fascists in Italy kept a much stronger connection to the Catholic Church. And then Italy put racial policies in like 1938, I think it was. So, but you know, Franco, yeah, Falangism. Yes, I know that was Franco's party. But you know, Franco wasn't as evil as Hitler, but he was still like, you know, he was still a bad guy. He wasn't a good person. A lot of people suffered under Franco. let me start here. Also, one of the reasons that Spain actually never helped like Germany in World War II, the main reason Spain didn't help Germany in World War II was because of the fact that it was that their country had been recovering from a civil war, and Franco didn't feel he had the resources to support Germany. But also another part of it was that Franco was trying to play both sides, so he was trying to play both the Allies and the Axis. And Franco was like trying to stay kind of neutral in it. He kind of leaned more towards supporting Germany, but Franco was also scared that Germany would invade Spain. He was also scared that that could possibly happen. So he tried to kind of play both sides in it. Hitler hated Franco, though. Hitler didn't like Franco, so they didn't have a good relationship. But it was also because the Nazis hated the Catholic Church, and they had, killed so many priests, and that was one of the reasons that the Spanish fascists didn't like the German fascists, because of that. But, if you read about it, like, for example, like, the Italians fascists and the German fascists hated each other. And, like, the Germans thought that they were superior to the Italians. So they thought the Italians were inferior to them. Let's see here, well, yeah, Spain Spain joined like NATO after Franco had died. When Franco died, it transitioned to a democracy. What order would you recommend playing the Red Dead Redemption games? I would recommend playing probably Red Dead Redemption 2. Probably first. Play that first, because then Red Dead Redemption 1 will feel more like a sequel to you. Thank you. Thank you for that super chat, bro. Here. What was the Nazis' specific reason for hating the Catholics? They felt that the Catholic Church was a threat to their power. The Catholic Church was a very strong, unified church that was across Europe, and they felt that Catholics would be loyal to the Church and loyal to God instead of being loyal to the Nazi Party and loyal to the Führer, Hitler. So that was their problem with Catholicism. Also, another thing is, and this is the problem. A lot of people think the Nazis were like a Christian party when they weren't. The Nazi Party had nothing to do with Christianity. A lot of people think it was a Christian party, but it wasn't. The Nazis were more friendly towards Lutherans, but they were very hostile towards Catholics. But they weren't even pro-Lutheran either. They were just more tolerant of Lutherans than they were of Catholics. But if you look, like Dachau concentration camp, for example, the Nazis had set up an entire section in that concentration camp just for Catholic priests, and they had murdered thousands of Catholic priests. The Vatican and the Nazis actually signed a treaty in 1933 called the Reichskonkordat, which basically the Reichskonkordat meant that the Catholic Church recognized the Nazi government, and in exchange the Nazi government was supposed to allow Catholics like freedom of religion, and not discriminate against the Church. But the Nazis immediately violated the treaty. Like every treaty that the Nazis signed, like signing a treaty with the Nazis is like basically garbage. It's like nothing. It's just completely pointless, because the Nazis had basically broken every single treaty that they had signed. But they immediately started violating the treaty. They started going after Catholics. The Nazis, for example, they shut down all Catholic schools in Germany. Catholic schools in Germany were shut down under the Nazis. They removed crosses from schools in Germany. One of the reasons that one major conflict that happened between the Nazis and the Catholic Church is that the Nazis had actually done forced sterilization. So basically what they had done was they had, for groups of people that they didn't like, if you were a different race, if you were a different religion, if you were gay, if you were handicapped, if they deemed you inferior, before the war they would sterilize you. They would prevent you from having children. And what happened was the Catholic Church was horrified by that. They were completely against like the sterilization policies of the Nazis, and that put them in great conflict with the Nazi Party. So, and if you look at Poland, for instance, Poland was largely a Catholic nation. Like, the Nazis had destroyed the Catholic Church in Poland. They had destroyed so many churches, murdered so many priests, so many Catholics. So it's just, this was never, the Nazis were never a Catholic party. But like I see these dumb comments online where people say that like the Nazis were like a pro-Christian party and everything. Like, it's not true. There's no basis for that. There's no evidence to support that claim. And this is coming from an agnostic. I don't even consider myself a Christian, and I'm telling you that this was not a Christian party. But people think that it was like a Christian party. And the thing I'll say about this is that, like, there's a lot of people out there, for example, that they point to Hitler's speeches, because when Hitler's speeches, he mentions God, and he mentions Christianity, and he calls himself a German Christian, and people say, oh, that's proof that Hitler was, like, a Christian. But if you look at the table talks, those were, like, the talks that Hitler had with his private generals. So whenever Hitler had, like, dinners with, like, other Nazi officials, with Hitler's permission, his secretary, Martin Bormann, would write down what Hitler thinks about politics, like, race and religion and stuff like that. And so Bormann had written, like, you know, hundreds of pages of what Hitler had said over the years at dinner. And when Christianity was brought up, Hitler despised Christianity. He said really bad things about Christianity, and Hitler had actually claimed that Christianity was invented by Jews to oppress Germans. That's what Hitler had actually claimed. He claimed that Hitler believed that he believed that Bolshevism, which was the Communist Party in Russia, he believed that that was created by Jews, and he also believed that Christianity was created by Jews as well. And there's one point in the table talks where Hitler actually says that Christianity is one of the worst things that happened to Europe. That's what Hitler says at his private dinners. That's all recorded, it's documented. And so this was not something that he said in public. This was something that was documented in private that he had said. And so when I see these dumb people, they say, oh, you know, Hitler was a Christian. He mentioned Christianity in his speech. The reason that Hitler mentions Christianity in his speech was because he got elected. The Nazis got elected. That's what a lot of people don't know about them. They had gotten elected, and Hitler knew that he would never be able to get elected if he didn't have Germany was 90% Christian before World War II. He knew that he would never get elected if he started going after the church. So one of the reasons the Nazis were able to target the Catholic Church, because the Catholic Church was a minority in Germany. The main religion was Lutheranism, and so that didn't have that's one of the reasons they didn't go after the Lutherans as much. But it was for that reason.
So basically, like, if I make peace with Germany, like in World War II, I mean around those times, I'll basically get backstabbed by Hitler.
Yeah, I mean, signing any treaty with the Nazis is, like, you know, basically just garbage paper. It's nothing. It's just that. Short Fat Otaku did a great video titled "The 3 Forms of Fascism." I'd recommend everyone checking it out. Oh, I don't know that channel. I'd have to look it up. But I'm telling you though that the Nazis, like, I read history a lot. I've read history a lot. I don't have a history degree, but I've read history a lot, and I wanted to originally do a history degree in college, but my college canceled the history program. But the point is, I read a lot, and most of my history knowledge doesn't even come from college. I just read a lot, and I'll tell you, one of the most incorrect statements that people make in history is when they claim that the Nazis were a Christian party. Because I've seen that comment so many times where people say that, oh, the Nazis were Christians. No, the majority of the German army were Christians. That is true. The average German soldier, the vast majority of them were Christian. That's true. But the Nazi leadership itself, the people in charge, were not Christians, and they were not pro-Christian. They weren't atheists either. They weren't atheists, but they weren't Christians. The Heinrich Himmler, for example, head of the SS, he was a pagan. He believed in the Germanic gods. Martin Bormann, it's unknown what his religion was exactly, Hitler's secretary. Martin Bormann hated all religions. He despised religions. A lot of people attribute him to being an atheist, but there's no 100% proof that he was an atheist either. But we know that Martin Bormann despised all religions. Himmler was like a pagan. Goebbels, the minister of propaganda, he referred to himself as a Christian, but we also know Goebbels, he's the minister of propaganda, so we don't know whether that's something. But the Nazis also hated atheists. That's also important. So they weren't a Christian party, and they weren't an atheist party either. The Bolsheviks in Russia, that was an atheist party. The Nazis were not an atheist party. They were neither in the Christian party nor an atheist party, and the Nazis actually hated atheists also. One of the things Hitler did was he banned the German Free Thinkers organization, which is German Free Thinkers. They were the largest atheist group in Germany. They had over 500,000 members. He criminalized that. Also, Hitler had actually claimed that he was going to stamp out atheism in Germany. So it was that they were neither. So I've seen incorrect statements that people make, that where people think that they were either a Christian party or they think they were an atheist party. But the reality of it is the Nazis hated both atheists and they hated both Christians. But the thing is, though, is that I've seen it so many times, and I've seen both people do it. I've seen atheists who say that the Nazis were Christians. And they say that not out of a historical point, but they say that primarily to try to make Christians look bad. And then Christians do the exact same thing. I've seen Christians who will say that the Nazis were atheists to try to make the Nazis look, to make atheists look bad. That's basically what it is. So you have both sides basically trying to claim that the Nazis were atheists or Christians just to try to make the other side look bad. But the reality of it is, I'm telling you from a historical perspective, from a non-biased perspective, if you just read the facts, you read about this, they were neither a atheist party nor were they a Christian party. And Hitler's religion is like one of the most debated things in history. Like nobody knows what Hitler's religion is. If you got like 20 historians together, they wouldn't be able to tell you what Hitler's religion is. There was no unanimous thing. Hitler claims he's a Christian in public, but then in private he claims he hates Christianity. So it's just, you know, it's unknown exactly what his religion is. I can say that for certain, we know that Hitler was not a Christian. For certain, I think we can say that. Because it's just the thing, if you look at what he says in private, his recorded things, this was written by other Nazis, recorded what he said in private. He despised Christianity. So I don't believe that he was a Christian. If you also look at, if you look at Hitler's religious record, for example, while Hitler was raised as a Catholic, his mother was a religious Catholic, his father was an atheist who hated religion. When after Hitler had actually left home, there is no proof that he was ever a member of any church. There was no documentation of him being a member of any church. There's no documentation of him ever attending mass. There is, when he became leader of Germany, he did attend certain churches, but for funerals. So like when top Nazis would die or something like that, he would go to a funeral. But he made that mostly for public appearances. You wouldn't see him sitting in mass or something like that. So he despised atheists, he despised Christians. I personally, from everything that I've read, I personally think that he was some kind of he was religious in some way, but when I say religious, I'm not talking Christianity. He believed in something, because he believed in destiny a lot. Like Hitler was obsessed with destiny, and he believed that it was his destiny to lead Germany, and it was his destiny to conquer Europe and to invade all these countries. And so I ultimately, when it comes down to it, if you look at it from a historical perspective, if you just look at it, you don't go in there with the bias of just you don't go in there, you know, you don't go in there with an atheist or a Christian bias. You just go in there from a historical perspective, non-biased, and you read mostly into it. He believed that he was some kind of god. He did, because after he had gotten the assassination, the Valkyrie plot, when he almost gotten blown up, he said that nobody can kill me. That's what Hitler said. I cannot be killed. It's my destiny to lead Germany and all this other stuff. So you can't really believe in destiny without being religious, because destiny implies that something is going to happen. You know, something that some other external force is going to put some kind of supernatural force or something is going to put some events into motion. It's eventually going to happen. That's the view of destiny. So it was he did believe in something. So, you know, when you see these Christians and these atheists who try to say Hitler was a Christian or an atheist, he was actually neither. He was neither an atheist nor a Christian. But yet people will still try to portray him as one just to attack the other one. And so I've argued with atheists before on this, and I've argued with Christians. The exact same thing. I've told them Hitler is not a Christian, he's not an atheist, and you're just basically trying to make him look like the other one, just to make the other religion look bad. That's ultimately what it is. So it's just, you know, that's just, yeah. But if you're going to attribute a religion to the Nazis, a religion to them, the Nazis actually tried to make their own church. They did. They tried to create their own religion. It was called like Got something. I'm trying to remember the name. I probably couldn't pronounce it. It's in German. But basically, the Nazis had wanted to create their own church, their own religion. You can look this up. Look up Nazi religion, and you look up. They tried to create their own church, and basically their own version of religion. What it was a church, like kind of like a Christian church, but it mixed Christianity and like German paganism. So that's what it was. It was like mixing like German, like Martin Luther, like, you know, the founder of Lutheranism. It was like mixing like Martin Luther and German paganism, the ancient German gods, into like one religion. That's what they wanted to do. So that was like their that was like a state religion they eventually wanted to create and wanted to push. So that, yeah. So that's that pretty much on it. So that I hope that answers that question, because a lot of people like don't and there was like yeah. So I hope that answers the religious questions regarding it. But it just personally pisses me off. Like when I see people like distort history so much, when I see like it pisses me off equally when I see people say that the Nazis were like an atheist party, or I see people say that they were a Christian party. They were neither. They were neither. And so like it's like, you know, where are you getting your facts from? Where are you getting your evidence? Because and then like, you know, when I like you know, when I ask, like, you know, when people tell me that like Hitler was like a Christian, I say, where's your proof? And they point to some speeches. Oh, he mentioned God in a speech. And I said, okay, but he's literally the dictator of Germany. He's gonna say stuff to keep the people happy. Like he can't say stuff against Christianity, or else like he's gonna lose most of his support. So it's, if you look at what he says in private and you look at his policies against Christianity, because he discriminated heavily against the churches. Like it was what's his Ratzinger, Pope Benedict Ratzinger. So he was the German Pope. What happened about him is he's constantly falsely accused of being a Nazi, like the German Pope. People accuse him of being a Nazi. He was never a Nazi. There's no proof that he was a Nazi. He did grow up in Germany. That is true. He did grow up during the war. But if you read his background, his family was very religious Catholics. And what happened was his father was like a police captain. And his father had hated the Nazis. He despised them. And so his father had openly criticized the Nazis, which is very dangerous to do. And so his father had to actually move because they got chased out of town. Like, he criticized Hitler and they got chased out of town. And what happened was his father actually got demoted from his position as police captain. So he got demoted several times to just like a regular street cop. So he lost his career because he criticized the Nazis. Ratzinger, when he was a kid, was drafted into the Hitler Youth. Because when you were a child in Germany, you had to go to the Hitler Youth. You had no choice. And so he didn't show up for Hitler Youth meetings. He didn't. And so he got in serious trouble for that. And what ended up happening, in 1941, his cousin had Down syndrome, and his cousin had actually gotten taken away by the Nazis and murdered. The Nazis had claimed they were going to give him medical treatment, but they were going to kill him. They murdered him. So they murdered they murdered his cousin for that. The Nazis would kill anybody who has a mental disorder, handicapped. The Nazis would kill them. They would deem them that they were inferior. And so this is why I say that the Nazis were the most evil group in European history. Definitely, they were worse than the Soviets, 100%. So it's just, they were just, just such the cruelty of the Nazis. It's just so evil. But it was that, and so the Pope's cousin had gotten murdered. His father had lost his career. He got drafted into the Hitler Youth, and then he was drafted into the Luftwaffe, which was the German Air Force, and he was in charge of shooting down bombers. There's no record of him ever killing anybody during the war, and in the last few weeks of the war, he deserted. So he left. He fled his post. And if you were a soldier in the German army and you deserted, you get hanged or shot on the spot. There was no trial or anything. You would just get hanged or shot on the spot. So that's what. So he took a major risk. And so, like, people say the Pope Benedict was like a Nazi. There's no proof of that, and he suffered. His cousin was murdered. His father was like chased out of town. He was forced, into the military. So it was just, that. And this is all from a historical perspective. I'm not, don't really consider myself a Catholic. I'm an agnostic. But, I just don't like it when people try to push their own version of history. That's just basically what it was. If you look at Pope Benedict's life, there's no proof that he was ever a Nazi or any of that.
If I was alive during that time, yeah, I would have been killed because, well, I have autism and I'm special needs, so I'd never get killed by a Nazi. If I was alive during that time.
Imagine if Activision made a game based on World War I. I don't think they will. Thank you, Soprano. But yeah, it was, on your point, is the Nazis are just, definitely, when there's a minute left, just deliver him. They are 100% the most evil group that existed in European history were the Nazis. 100%. And it was, it was this, and Flaming Eel was this, if you want to attribute, like, a religion to the Nazis, like a religion besides, like, the thing that was talking, it was social Darwinism, that's what it was. It was this obsession with race. That was their religion. It was obsession with the Aryan race. That they believed that they were the superior race, they believed they were superior over everyone was inferior to them, and they believed they had the right to, to conquer and invade these other peoples. It was that the, one person asked me, why did the Nazis hate Eastern Europeans? The Nazis had considered East Slavic people, Eastern Europeans, barbarians. They didn't think that Slavs were civilized, and they felt that Slavs, they felt that Slavs were inferior to them, and they felt that they had the right to kill them and take their land.
Get away with this.
Let me see here.
Hey, Pro, whenever you get the chance, I sent a screenshot of the picture of the Legos that I built. The most expensive one I ever bought.
Okay.
It's huge.
So you're telling me if a Nazi lost an arm during war, they get executed by their own because he was deemed inferior? No. No, that wouldn't, that typically would not happen. It was people, how do I explain it this way? Anybody who they had deemed, inferior to them. So if you couldn't have kids, if you were just a German and you couldn't have kids, they would deem you inferior. If you were Jewish, they would deem you inferior. If you were handicapped, they would deem you inferior. If you were gay, they would deem you inferior. If you had any kind of mental illness, they would deem you inferior. So if you were like a soldier and you had lost like a limb or something like that, they wouldn't kill you unless you like deserted or something like that. Because it was that if somebody had lost an arm, yeah, they would consider that person inferior. But it was that if they started executing their own soldiers for like getting wounded in combat, so like if they knew, like if a German soldier lost an arm or a leg and they got immediately executed, if they did stuff like that, that would make their morale plummet like that. Like their morale would go down like that, 0. So yes, they did. To answer your question, it's a bit complicated. I know it's a complicated question that you're asking. But if somebody lost an arm, yes, they would deem them inferior. But if this was like a soldier, they wouldn't kill them. And the reason that they wouldn't kill them is because if they started killing their soldiers off, even if that soldier couldn't fight anymore, if other soldiers knew that they would kill other soldiers off, their morale would plummet. And morale is extremely important in battle. If you have low, it doesn't matter what good technology you have. If you have low morale, you're not going to win anything. And so that's I hope I answered that question. I know it was a bit complicated question, but. Hey Pro, did you play Assassin's Creed Unity? I like how it shows the French Revolution, and will you ever play an Assassin's Creed game on the channel? I actually did play Assassin's Creed 1. I played that before, and I want to play Unity one day. I do. Oh, I didn't, Chaz. What was your milestone message? I'm sorry if I missed it. Check your Steam sometime. Oh, okay, I'll look later, Chaz. Thank you, man.
Holy crap! Oh no.
You know Florida has a day of mandatory lessons on the horrors of communism. Thank Ron DeSantis for introducing it. Well, they should like I don't want to get into politics. They should like answer your question there. They should teach people about the horrors of like all history, like, you know, all sides, everything. But like, yes, you know, the communists did barbaric things. Like, you know, communism is like a failed ideology and has killed millions of people, like around the world in so many different countries. World War I was more based on imperialistic goals, while World War II was caused by Germany seeking vengeance for World War I and a Treaty of Versailles. Well, imperialism is what caused both wars, really. But World War I was caused by empire. That's pretty much what it was caused by. It was a bunch of greedy, you know, monarchs, greedy, you know, kings and queens that they wanted to they wanted to expand their empires. They wanted to take over other people's colonies. World War II was, you know, you had a psycho dictator like Hitler that believed that he had the right to control pretty much the vast majority of Europe. And the Japanese, it was that they wanted to expand their empire. They wanted to take over the vast majority of Asia. Italy also had imperialistic ambitions in that. Thank you, Soprano. Okay, let me see here. I'm gonna go to, let's go to Tumbleweed. Haven't been there in some time, and I'll probably do a poker match here. Did I answer your question, Side? I don't know if you're still here.
Damn, I was the only one that's left in the team, and I wiped out almost everyone in the other side. My rest of my team are like garbage. They didn't do a good job. I was the only one doing most of the work.
Okay, let me see here. I'm gonna go into game chat so I can play a little poker, guys. Okay?
Alright.
Yes, excellent explanation. Well, thank you. Aussie guy, thank you for sponsoring the channel. But yeah, if you're interested in when I talk about World War II, you know, history, if you like when I talk about World War II history, watch my Saboteur playthrough. The Saboteur is an open world World War II game, and it's a very big map. Like, it's a giant map. It's the entire city of Paris, the French countryside, and part of Germany that you can explore too. And so I talk a lot of, like, you know, history when I play the Saboteur. Stauffenberg had been seriously injured but was seen as a war hero, which is what allowed him to come close to assassinating Hitler as anyone else. Yes, you're right on that, GB. What do you think about Kanye? Kanye, well, the Kanye is just crazy. He's just I don't think he even realizes a lot of times what he's saying. He's just stupid and ignorant a lot of times. I would just ignore the guy. He's just a moron. Yeah, Sniper Elite VR is really fun. You play as Italian Resistance. I gotta play it one day. Have you heard of the Taiping Rebellion? Sounds very familiar. Let me just Google it to make sure I'm thinking of the exact same event. Taiping Rebellion. But I could just go on and on history talking about a lot of stuff. Massive Rebellion, Manchu-led Qing Dynasty and the Han. I actually don't know about this event, too much. I know about the Opium Wars, that I know a little bit more about, but I don't know about this event that you're asking me about. Do you think mandatory lessons on the horrors of communism is a great idea? I think that when you're teaching history in college, you have to teach about the horrible things that communism has done. I mean, not just college, but high school, even middle school. Middle school is typically when kids start learning about communism. You have to teach about the horrors of communism. You have to teach about the slaughter, the millions of people that starved to death, the gulag system, the repression, the secret police. You have to teach about that. Because if schools aren't teaching that, I don't know what they're doing, honestly. So it's just, you have to teach, like, sometimes when I see, like, sometimes when I see these kids, like, these kids in college, like, I see these spoiled kids in college who say, oh, communism is a great thing. And I'm like, where the hell did you get your education from? Like, I'm, like, thinking to myself, like, you know, what did, like, where are you getting this idea from? Like, you know, what the hell? Like, this is, excuse my language. Well, that's, yeah, so that's what I would say about that is, yes, you know, we should teach the horrors of, you know, every regime throughout history. And, you know, the horrible things a lot of regimes have done. Like, Nazism is much worse than communism, it is. But we should also teach about the horrible things that communism has done. That shouldn't be ignored. So it's... I heard history textbooks were biased in the South. Yes, there is going to be some bias to that. It's going to happen. Oh, I'm going to win this hand. There are southern states, so there is going to be bias, unfortunately. And I don't like that. I don't like the bias, but, you know, I'll tell you, there's a lot of, wait, Full House 2s? We both won? What? We both had, there's only 4 2s. Wait, so wait, we had all the 2s? Okay, that's weird. Okay, wow, that was just, what I was gonna say is that there are people out there that actually, they actually believe that the Civil War was not fought over slavery, and they think that the Civil War was fought over states' rights. I'm telling you, that's nonsense. The Civil War's primarily fought over slavery. It was because the South wanted to keep slaves. I don't know why some people think that, like, that it's over states' rights. There's no evidence to suggest that whatsoever, none. I've read into that a lot, too. There's no evidence to suggest that, but some people think that, and that's exactly what I'm talking about, the bias. You know, when you teach things like that in, like, schools, when you suppress a view of the Confederacy during the Civil War, like, especially in some of the southern states, I don't know how they do their education, but that was just, you know, the Confederacy was not a force for good. So it's just, you know, I don't know why, you know, people think that it was about states' rights. It was nothing to do with states' rights. And if you read the founding documents of the Confederacy, they mention slavery. You know, if the Confederacy wasn't founded for slavery, then what was it founded for? If they mention in their founding documents, they talk about slavery. So that's just, you know, there's a lot of people that they distort history, because what happens is, it's oftentimes if you look at who distorts history, who distorts history most of the time, it's their own people, hundreds of years later or decades later. That's what it almost always is. So you will have, like, people, and I don't have anything against people from the South. They're some of the nicest people out there. What I'm saying is, people that defend the Confederacy, you'll see people from the South tend to be more from the Confederacy, who are going to defend the Confederacy. And the reason for that is because that's part of their history. And so they don't want a negative thing being put on them in their history. And so people will then make excuses, and they'll try to say, oh, it didn't really happen like that, and they try to make it seem like it's better than it actually was. If you look at throughout history, countries deny atrocities that they did because they don't want to feel shame. They don't want to admit to the bad things they did. Look at Japan. Japan denies, a lot of people don't know this, but Japan denies a lot of the stuff that they did during World War II. They deny a lot of the massacres they did. And Japan what is it? The Turkey, modern day Turkey, denies the Armenian genocide. They claim that that didn't happen. They claim that the Armenians had moved when the Armenians were mass murdered by the Ottomans, the Turks, who were in charge. So it was like you'll have countries that will deny the bad things that they've done in history. Russia denies the Holodomor. For people that don't know what the Holodomor is is an event that happened in the early 1930s in Ukraine, where basically there was the kulaks. They were like farmers that were in Ukraine. They were a little bit more rich than the average peasant, and so basically Stalin forced collectivization in Ukraine, and basically the Stalin's police force, his military, would go around on these farms and just force the Ukrainian farmers to give away like 70% of their crops to the government. And the farmers basically said, no, we work this land, we work really hard in this land, you're not going to take our property without our permission. And so a lot of the Ukrainian farmers resisted. Stalin didn't like that. And so Stalin purged a lot of the Ukrainian farmers, and Stalin's policies, when he tried to force collectivize Ukraine, caused millions of people to starve to death. Millions of people starved to death. And so Russia denies that event happened. The Russian government to this day denies that happened. They pretend like it didn't happen. And there's the point that I'm making is that if you go around the world, every single country on this planet has done horrible things. And the people that tend to deny the horrible things are almost always from those countries that did the horrible thing. It's like the people that are alive today aren't responsible for what happened a long time ago. However, though, they do have a responsibility to admit the horrible things that their country did in their past. Take responsibility for it. Says, yes, this is what our country did in the past. It's a shameful thing. We shouldn't be proud of this. We shouldn't be making excuses for this. We should apologize to anyone still alive for this. We should try to make it right. And that's it did. That's it. You have to, because if you're going to deny the history, then you're bound to repeat it again. Germany is one of the few countries in the world that takes responsibility for its history. There actually are a lot of countries to this day that do not take full responsibility for their history, but Germany is one of those few countries that does take responsibility for their history. Let me see here. Hey, Professional, can you one day play this GTA Vice City mod called GTA Titan Vice? It's like the hardest difficulty in Vice City. I'm gonna screenshot your super chat right now, and I'll look into that. Thank you, Alize. Hey, Pro, watching your Saboteur playthrough, I was surprised when it was Skylar that was the British agent. It's too bad it hasn't been remastered. It looks epic. Well, thank you, Justin. Check this here. Okay, let me see here. Okay. And I have nothing matching. We'll see what we get on this hand here. No matching cards. Yeah, I'm folding. Was Grigory Rasputin a bad guy? Kind of. He was. I would use the word creepy to describe him. Pro, you'll be an amazing history teacher. Well, thank you. Well, yeah, you have to, when you look at history, you have to look at it from all angles, and you can't just look at the side you can't just look at the side that you feel comfortable with. But you have to teach history from, you have to teach all history. And countries need to be willing to accept responsibility for bad things they did in their past. Like I said, it's not, people that are alive today aren't responsible for what happened in the past. However, they have a responsibility to admit to the bad things that their country did in their history. Do you know about the wonder weapons Germany made? Yes, the V2 rocket, for example, one of them. Thank you, Edgy. Hector is going to be running 3 Honda Civics. What are you talking about? Yeah, I'll stream Modern Warfare 2 again in the future. Pro, what's the worst month to have a birthday in? Probably December, because you'll probably get less gifts. Well, if you celebrate the holidays, you'll probably get less gifts. Thoughts on Andrew Jackson? Andrew Jackson was not a good man. Thank you for the super chat, Soprano. Andrew Jackson was a very, like, you know, stone cold guy. He was a very ruthless guy. He was not a fearful guy, so he wasn't, like, scared. You know, he would, like, ride into battle, but he wasn't a good man, like I said. You know, the best thing that Andrew Jackson did was when he was a general during the War of 1812, and he successfully defended New Orleans from the British. So he drove the British back, like he crippled the British army at New Orleans. So that was the best thing that Andrew Jackson did, and he should be remembered for crippling the British army at New Orleans, because they almost took New Orleans. So that was important. If the British had taken New Orleans, they could have probably tried to, even though the war was ending at that point, they could have taken New Orleans and they could have tried to use it as a further bargaining chip and could have annexed it. So he does deserve credit for that. However, though, Jackson did do horrible things. He did really bad things also. And some of the really bad things that he did is, for example, his mistreatment of the Native Americans. So what happened was a lot of the Native American tribes had actually taken the U.S. government to court, that they couldn't be thrown off their land, and they had actually won the court case. So they actually won the court case. And even though they won the court case, Andrew Jackson, like, said to the court, like, what are you going to do to stop me? And so he still threw the Native Americans off their land, and then you had the Trail of Tears. A lot of people died during that, so that's really the worst thing that he did. So he defended he defended the country from British invasion. That was a good thing that he did, and he should be remembered for that. But at the same time he also threw the Native Americans off their land. And that was just, and violated, like, you know, the court's decision. So it was just, he was just not a good man, like I said. Bro, what is your religion? I'm an agnostic. Yeah, Dr. Friedlander, I heard about that. Which Sniper Elite game do you think has the most ridiculous wonder weapons? Sniper Elite 3. Yeah, Sniper Elite 3, the rat tank. That was the most ridiculous thing. Because in Sniper Elite 3, they built this one rat tank, and then they somehow thought they were going to win the entire North Africa campaign with the rat tank. So it was Sniper Elite 3. Like, they literally built this huge super tank, and they thought this one super tank was going to somehow turn the war around in their favor. Which, that was just, you know, that was just, it was ridiculous. It was nice to see the rat actually in a video game, because the rat tank was never appeared in a video game, so it was nice to actually see how big it is in a video game. But it was just, you know, stupid. My favorite U.S. president? My favorite U.S. president in, like, within the last, my favorite U.S. president, I would say, probably in, like, past history, was Teddy Roosevelt. Yeah, I'd say probably Teddy Roosevelt was probably my favorite one. Yeah, this game has a lot of detail to it. Hasn't America also done horrible things in its history? Oh yes, 100%, 100%. But you'll never see me denying or making excuses for horrible things that my country has done. Who do you think is the most overrated U.S. president? Most overrated U.S. president? Do you think George Washington was a good man? I think that... I do think he was a good man. I think he had flaws. Like, you know, George Washington wasn't, you know, George Washington wasn't a perfect human being. He did, you know, he did some bad things, but ultimately, you know, he founded the country, which he did much more good than bad. Without him, our country would not exist. And so, he is the most important president in American history. Yes it is. I was born here. I don't know how this is not my country. Thank you, Gaiman. What do you think about the current Iranian government? I think the Iranian government is a, you know, a scummy, you know, evil government. And honestly, like, it was literally, the Iranian government, what I'll say about it is that it's such a, the government takes no responsibility for anything. And the thing about it is, I don't know if you guys remembered, when I was doing the Modern Warfare 2 beta stream, this is like, you know, months ago. When I was streaming the Modern Warfare 2 beta, somebody actually asked me about what I think about the Iran protests, and the Iran protests were just starting, and I literally said, during the stream when I was reading the comments, I said that, watch, the Iranian government is going to blame the US for the protests. They're going to say that it's some kind of Western imperialism. They'll do that. And what literally, a day after I said that comment, the supreme leader of Iran said that the protests were literally American-backed, and they were like a coup to overthrow the supposed legitimate government of Iran. And I'll tell you, though, the CIA has done a lot of scummy things involved in coups, but what was happening in Iran had nothing to do with America. Zero. There was no CIA coup or anything like that. There was nothing to do with that. The reason the protests were in Iran had nothing to do with the US. It was people were pissed off. There was a girl who wasn't wearing her headscarf. She was taken into police custody, and then she was found dead. And that was literally what it was. She was perfectly healthy. She had no health problems afterwards. She was arrested for violating the dress code and then found dead. And that's what people were pissed off about, is this poor girl was murdered. That's pretty much what it was. It had nothing to do with the U.S., but they were just blaming the U.S., saying, oh, this is like American imperialism in like Iran and stuff like this. It's this always stupid nonsense. It's like a lot of the communist countries, they did the exact same thing. They would always say, oh, it's like Western imperialism. I know Iran isn't like a communist country, but I'm just saying is that a lot of these countries typically don't like America. Whenever something goes wrong in their country, there's something bad happens, and it's not even, America has nothing to do with it, they still always blame America for it. They're like, oh, it's Western imperialism, it's NATO, or something like that. They'll make some stupid, dumb excuse. And so it's just that. It's, I think Iran sides with Russia in the Ukraine war. They do. They provide Russia with kamikaze drones. Basically drones that fly and just explode on impact. The Iranian leader called for the genocide of Jewish people on Twitter. Elon needs to ban him. Well, I did not hear about that, Mario, but yes, then I would ban him. Get him the hell off Twitter then. Yes. That was no, he should be banned then. Thank you Mario for the super chat. Yeah. But yeah, the Iran is like, you know, Iran is a very dangerous country to live in. You don't want to live in a country like Iran. I missed your super chat. I'm sorry, Antonio. How come Germany in World War II had the best technology and the best scientists? They were far ahead of everyone, but they lost because of resources like oil. Well, the reason that do I know about the Man in the High Castle? Are you talking about the TV show? I know about the TV show. I know it's like if the Allies lost World War II, but I never really watched it. Thank you, Antonio. What was it here? I was answering a question before. Oh yeah, how did Germany lose the war? Germany lost the war because they were fighting on too many fronts, and also it was because Hitler didn't think he could lose. That was what it was. What it was about. You know, something I'll tell you is what I'll tell you about I'll put $1 in. I got an ace here. what I'll tell you about this is that the Nazis never thought that they could lose. They thought that they were gonna win the entire time. And Hitler refused to admit that Germany was going to lose. Like, literally, the last 2 weeks of World War II, Hitler still thought that Germany was going to win. Or I should say, last 2 weeks of World War II in Europe, Hitler still thought that Germany was going to win. So that's how delusional, Hitler was. And the thing is, though, is Germany technically lost the war in May 1st, 1945, when Berlin surrendered. But it was May 2nd, I think it was May 2nd when they surrendered. So, but technically, Germany, in my opinion, lost the war when Stalingrad was lost. Like, when the second that Stalingrad, the 6th Army got destroyed at Stalingrad, it was over. They lost the war at that point. Because Germany did not have the resources at that point to push further. They didn't have the resources to push further. They wanted to get to the oil fields in Russia, in Baku, and that was in Azerbaijan, and they had to go through Stalingrad to get there. When they couldn't, their supply lines were cut off. They had an entire army obliterated. They lost the war. It was over at that point. Germany was on the defensive at that point. They were never going to really be on the offensive. Germany had 2 other times to turn the war around. Kursk, if they had won at Kursk, they could have forced the Soviets into a negotiation if they won at Kursk. But they wouldn't have been able to invade the Soviet Union. They didn't have the resources they had in 1941 and 42. And then in the other time is if they stopped the Normandy landings, there's a chance they could have forced some kind of negotiation, at least on the Western Allies. The Battle of the Bulge, even if Germany broke through in the Battle of the Bulge, that wouldn't have done much. It would have probably delayed the war a little bit longer, but it was just the Battle of the Bulge, even if Germany won that, it was not enough to turn the war around in their favor. So they had lost the war earlier. But the thing is, though, is Germany had plenty of times to end the war early. Like, the Allies had called for unconditional surrender. But Hitler had refused. And what happened was, during World War I, the Kaiser ended the war before the war officially got into Germany. So it was kind of getting into Germany at that point. Most of World War I was fought in France. But what happened was that the Kaiser had launched the Spring Offensive in 1918. The Spring Offensive in World War I, spring of 1918, was like a giant German push to overrun the Allied forces. And what happened was that it failed. It was a giant disaster. The Germans had suffered massive casualties. And then they fought on for a few more months. And what happened was the U.S. started pushing into Germany. It was the U.S. was there with Britain and France and Italy. And it was going really bad for them at that point. And the Kaiser agreed to surrender. The Kaiser agreed to enter negotiations. And the reason for that is because even though the Kaiser was not a good man, he wasn't evil. And that's the difference between him and Hitler. The Kaiser was a bad man, but Hitler was an evil man. And there's a big difference between that. So the Kaiser wasn't willing to, even though he wasn't a good man, he wasn't willing to let his country get destroyed. He knew that if he kept fighting and he kept resisting, all of Germany would be destroyed in total warfare. He knew that. And so that's why the Kaiser agreed to surrender. That's why the Kaiser agreed to negotiations. And so Hitler, on the other hand, wanted total war. Hitler didn't care if the entire war had destroyed Germany. He didn't care. He just was going to keep fighting till the very end. And so that just shows you the difference between evil and bad. Is Kaiser Wilhelm wasn't willing to sacrifice his people like that. He wasn't willing to let his whole country get obliterated. Hitler was willing to let his whole country get obliterated. So that was literally that. See if I can get one good hand here. Your thoughts on the Iranian soccer team getting punished by their country for losing to the USA in the FIFA World Cup group stage? What? They got punished for losing? I didn't even know that. Well, that just shows why Iran is more of a psycho dictatorship. Why do other countries hate America? There's a lot of countries in the world that hate America for different reasons. Like, for example, like North Korea hates America for, stupid reasons. North Korea just hates America for stopping their invasion of South Korea. That's pretty much what it is. There are other countries in the world that don't like America because they've had bad relations in the past. The CIA, for example, during the Cold War, the CIA did some really bad things, and they did some coups in other countries. And they overthrew legitimate democratic governments and put dictatorships in, and that's one of the reasons why there's a lot of, people around the world that don't like the U.S., because the CIA had interfered in their countries. That's, one of the reasons. Some of the reasons are, based on things the CIA did, but other reasons are, stupid reasons. Like, North Korea's, reasons are just stupid. So it's just, this will be my last hand. Let's see what we get here. I don't know who that is, J-Man. Do you think if the USSR hadn't industrialized under Stalin's 5-year plans, they might have lost World War II or at least wouldn't be able to push back? Yeah, there's a huge chance it would have happened. Yeah, it could have happened. If Russia did not have the industrialization that it did, it could have lost. That's entirely possible. Do you think the Germans could have won at Stalingrad if they were better prepared for winter and had better logistics? I think that there was no winning at Stalingrad. That's what it was. There was no way for them to really win that. The winter had kicked in. The Soviets had then reinforced their soldiers. They sent trains full of soldiers across the Volga. There was really no way for Germany to win Stalingrad. However, though, while Germany couldn't win Stalingrad, they could have saved the army. They could have done that. And it was if they had pulled out. They should have, if they wanted to lose the least amount of people, they should have pulled out. But it was that Hitler was like a psycho. And so in Hitler's mind, there was no such thing as retreat. No such thing as retreat, no such thing as pulling out. Because in Hitler's mind, every single time there's a retreat, he thinks that that's a loss. Like, he thinks it's a defeat. But sometimes in warfare, you need to retreat. You need to regroup. Sometimes you need to pull out of certain areas. Because if you stay in an area for too long, you're going to lose even more people. Sometimes it's better to retreat and fight another day than die all in the same place. But Hitler's idea was, we don't retreat, we don't go back at all, we just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And so, what Hitler did was, Frederick von Paulus, that was his name. He was the German general in charge of the Stalingrad. What happened was, Hitler had promoted him to field marshal. And he promoted him when the Germans were already losing Stalingrad bad, because the second the snow kicked in Stalingrad, that's when the Germans started losing at that point. They were winning early on, but the second the snow kicked in, the second the snow kicked in, they started losing. Okay, sorry, I just had a phone call for a moment. But I'm gonna end it here. But what I'll say to answer this question is, so this is the type of person that Hitler was. What Hitler did was he promoted Paulus to field marshal. Now, normally when you promote somebody to field marshal, it's to recognize their accomplishments. It's to, like, give them, it's to recognize them for things that they've done, stuff like that. But the reason that Hitler promoted Paulus to field marshal, it had nothing to do with his accomplishments or anything like that. The reason that Hitler had promoted Paulus is because Paulus was begging to be able to leave. Like, the German army was getting surrounded. The winter was kicking in. They wanted to leave. They wanted to evacuate the area. They wanted to leave Stalingrad, because if they didn't leave Stalingrad, they were going to get surrounded and they were going to get wiped out. What happened was Hitler promoted Paulus to field marshal, not because of an accomplishment, but because he didn't want Paulus to surrender. Why? Because in German history, there has never been a field marshal in Prussian history. Prussia was the largest German state who has ever surrendered. Ever surrendered. And so he put that massive pressure on Paulus, promoting him to field marshal, because Paulus knew there has never been a German field marshal who has surrendered. And Hitler did that so that Paulus would just fight till the end, so that everybody would go down fighting and die. That was it. And basically, Paulus at that point, basically said, he said, screw this dumb corporal. That's what Paulus said. And the reason Paulus said this dumb corporal is because that was Hitler's max rank in World War I. He was a corporal. Paulus said, screw this idiotic corporal. We're not dying for this guy. And so Paulus ordered the surrender. He surrendered to the Red Army. And so Paulus did the right thing. Because a lot of the Germans didn't survive the Soviet captivity, that is true. But if they had fought on till the end, everybody would have died. There would have been no survivors whatsoever. But Paulus did what he had to do. He had to surrender. The German army didn't want to fight anymore. They were out of fuel. They were out of ammunition. The cold was kicking in. They were freezing to death. They were starving. There was nothing to go fighting on. So that's why Paulus surrendered. He had really no choice. And then Hitler had, ranted against Paulus, said Paulus is a coward and everything like that. But he had asked to be evacuated, to evacuate the army several times, leave. So that's the type of person Hitler was. He was not just a ruthless and evil guy, but he was also a terrible tactician. And so in his mind, there was no such thing as retreat. If it was a retreat, it was a failure, and that was just it. So that was pretty much what it was about. But I guess I'll leave off here. When am I gonna stream Vice City Stories again? Early in January. I'll stream it within the first 2 weeks of January. So that was to hopefully to answer your question there, Antonio. I know it was a long answer on like the Stalingrad historical question, but there was no winning Stalingrad. So there was no way they could have won that battle. They could have, like I said, they could have retreated, and they could have saved the majority of their forces, but it was because Hitler was such an evil, like, you know, ruthless, you know, guy and a horrible tactician. He sacrificed the entire German 6th Army. So that was just, New Year's stream. We'll do a stream on New Year's Day. But, I guess we'll be going here, guys. I'm gonna have some food right now. I'm hungry. I haven't eaten since breakfast, so I'm really hungry. I'm gonna get off here, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, drop a like, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful day, guys.